Hello, everyone. So I'm back, and I'm joined as I am every week with Shayla Brown, who's here to talk about the Bad Batch with me. We got two episodes this week to talk about. Gonna probably be some. We got some stuff to talk about for sure. I think with that
Mhm.
show. I think I'll be honest with you. I think the second episode was a little bit worse than the first episode of the two, like of the set. What did you think? Did you feel that way?
I actually enjoyed the second one a bit better than the first.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. So we'll have to figure out why, because I felt like the second episode was a little bit more chaotic. They also did the nighttime thing, which I don't love when shows do, where they make it dark and they fight and stuff. I'm like, I don't love that.
It was pretty dark, which,
It
it doesn't matter much to me as a blind person, but like it kind of does because at least I have some shot of seeing things if it's brighter, but if it's dark, it's like, I'm just going to sit here and listen to the audio description track cuz I don't know. I don't know I can't see anything.
it just feels like to me it feels a little bit like a cop out sometimes of like when they go dark because they're doing it like it's very rare the story needs it and the story didn't need it to be dark. So that's why
Mhm.
kind of like it's like I don't know, it just felt weird. And I
Yeah.
like when it's light outside.
Yeah, and it's kind of strange to like make it so dark in animation when you have the chance to not do that. Like when you're
Right.
working with the natural elements in like live action, sometimes you don't have as much of a choice and you have to work with what you have. But for animation, everything has to be so intentional that like it's kind of strange that they're making things so dark to the point where it's like, yeah, I can't see anything. But that's also me as a blind person, so I don't know if my opinion has much weight.
No, I think I guess the cameo we got in the second episode is probably was an interesting one, which we'll talk about in a minute. Let's talk about the first set of these episodes first. The first episode in the set. What
Infiltrate.
was infiltration? Yeah. So we were very wrong last week, by the way, about what this is going to be about.
Uh-huh.
Um,
We always
what did you
are.
think? Well, so what was this most surprising part of this episode to you?
Um, everything. I think I think the biggest surprise was I think I was expecting us to go back to Tantus and we didn't see any of that.
Instead, we went to a planet I haven't seen. I don't think I've seen since Rebels or the Clone
The
Wars
beginning of the Clone Wars maybe?
with Pantora.
Yeah.
I don't know
I was
that.
so excited to see Senator Tucci again, but I think that's what kind of threw me off at the first
Yeah,
episode because I was like, are we going to spend the episode with them? And it was just kind of set up for like the rest of the episode, and we didn't really actually see what the senators were doing. Um, so I guess that's what kind of threw me off about it.
yeah, that was the thing that surprised me the most because on the bingo card, and we kind of went through this last week, right? Or when we were talking, is like, okay, well, what could they do? And I don't think maybe I did cross my mind. I don't think we mentioned at all that they could go to Pantora and they could, go back to that arc, which like that was just so random.
Hmm.
We
Yeah,
also,
it didn't seem like
yeah,
the conversation that the senators were having held much weight or importance.
no,
I mean, it is cool to see them again because we have seen both of these senators in this show, one in
yeah.
season one and one in season two, to see like the earliest stages of the Rebel Alliance being built. But like it didn't have much to offer. And so I was a little bit misled as to where we were going.
And I don't know, and again, correct me if I'm wrong here, because you'll probably remember this better than I will. I don't think we'd seen these, I guess, assassin ninja troopers before either, right?
We did see them. We saw one of them in season two, with Senator Tucci. Uh, it was trying to assassinate the clones who were speaking out against Admiral Rampart.
Oh,
Um,
right. You're right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes, yeah, and he tried to kill Senator Tucci as well, and Rex took him hostage and tried to find out who he was, and that's kind of how they found out about the clone assassins being a thing because of that guy.
So, and in this episode, kind of to get back to the show, they figure out who Omega is, or why Omega's important. I guess to some, like they realize that Omega's a target, which I guess they didn't know before,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And they also do the stupid thing of bringing the hostage clone back to their base for some
Yeah.
reason. I like at this point, do we not know better than that?
It's Star Wars. We have to have someone making some stupid ass decision. It was really dumb because they were like, "Oh, we scanned him. He's clear. He doesn't have any trackers on him." And Crosshair was right to call them out on that and be like, well, he's smarter than that. They must have like some sort of internal tracker that can't be identified."
Well, like I feel like at this point we got to be very careful. Like I feel like there's a lot of naivete from someone like Rex who should be very smart and should know. Like when wasn't he one of the people who was in the process of being brainwashed? That none of the clones knew they were going to be brainwashed by an evil, crazy person. And so, like, are we really ruling anything out of the realm of possibilities now?
Yeah, I mean, you have no idea what's inside of them at this point,
Well, they
especially
didn't know
since
what were inside of them until Rex put his head in a brain scanner and figured out, hey, wait a second, there's this thing which might make me turn evil.
I mean at this point, like now that the clones are being repurposed for different things, like you don't know how much worse it could be than just that. So why take the risk? Like you should have taken him back to Coruscant in that garage that you guys were using as a base instead of taking them back to the whole clone base and jeopardizing your whole cell, because that was like a huge operation and undertaking to get that many clones together, and you've lost a bunch of them now.
Yeah, and with all due respect, again, to I'm sure the great work that the clones do, how the hell did this assassin go in and out multiple times without being seen once? That just
Especially with
sees him actually, and no one else sees him.
Yeah, especially with Hunter having enhanced senses, like he should be able to hear that.
Or the many clones who are allegedly guarding the entrance that he literally walks in and out of the main.
I think your audio's gone funny.
Uh-oh.
There we go. I think it's back.
Oh, you can hear me?
Maybe?
Okay.
Yeah,
There we go. Now you can hear me.
there you go. Yep.
Here. Okay, my mic output switches sometimes. It's weird, I don't know, computer stuff. So yeah. Anyways, he walks into the main entrance multiple times and no one notices him, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, this man really succeeded on his stealth check. Like, he got all the bonuses on his stealth rolls because he was just stealthing in and out without anybody noticing.
Like he went into a control room and was just kind of chilling there.
Yeah. God, if only my own D&D characters were that successful.
I know. I mean, like this is, I don't know. That was the one thing which kind of bugged me is like, I don't care how stealthy you can convince me they are. They shouldn't be able to just walk in and out like this without anyone seeing. Like he was not caught once. He had to blow stuff up to be caught.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God for Crosshair, others they'd all be dead.
Yeah.
And they didn't trust him either, which is kind of crazy.
No, but I also think it's reasonable considering the past that Crosshair and Hauser have.
Also, the fact that Crosshair was actually hiding things, which was not great.
Yeah,
I was kind of annoyed by
why
him.
Why didn't he tell them that last episode?
Yeah, now I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit more skeptical of Crosshair now, though. I don't know if he's really. I feel like there might be something else going on with him. I think he's hiding other stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit skeptical now.
Yeah, I think he's trustworthy. Like I don't see him ever considering like turning against them, but I think he's definitely keeping things to himself, which is his nature to do.
But why?
Yeah, probably because of trauma, unwillingness to talk or to ever be open with people. Like that's never been a easy thing for him.
What if he knows what they want with Omega?
I would hope that if he knew, he would say something.
I mean, now I'm a little bit more skeptical. I used to be very on board, and now I'm a little more skeptical. I don't know. This episode kind of gave me a little bit of weird vibes about him.
if he was keeping secrets about anything, I doubt it would have anything to do with Omega because of how instantly protective he's become of her. Like if he had information on her, I think he would share it. I think the stuff that he's hiding more has to do with himself and probably personal shame that he has. Because Crosshair, trying to find a purpose, and he couldn't even be re-educated to be one of these clone assassins. Where like, at least like in his mind, at least if he could be re-educated to be one of these assassins, he could have a purpose and he could mean something and be useful somewhere. Whereas this Crosshair is struggling to find, like, he so badly wants to be needed and to be useful, and he's struggling with that because of the tremors in his hands. We see him constantly in these 2 episodes like self-sacrificing and being like, no, I'll stay behind and you guys go ahead, and putting himself in the line of fire when he's really not fit for it at this point, because his sniping still isn't great, or at least not at the way that it used to be. But his hand-to-hand combat isn't great either because he's so used to being a sniper. So until he has a game where he can be like completely useful and able to fight, like, he shouldn't be putting himself at risk like that. But of course, he is self-sacrificing to a fault at this point. I think he truly believes that he has lost his worth. So if he can just like sacrifice himself to be useful, he'll do it.
It's kind of like his suicide is like, I'm trying to put myself in harm's way and trying to see like, okay, can I die trying to protect something, right? Or trying to
Yeah.
do something.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and I know this, I don't want to jump to the second episode, but like, or like to the second part of this, but I think he kind of does that. And I thought he did actually die initially
Yeah,
in
me
that
too.
fight at the end, but he didn't die because the show's not done yet. So he can't die yet. Also, I watched this stuff after you, and I watched this. So I think the other thing was, so I watched this after you watched it, right? Because I watched it like in the afternoon, and you posted on your Instagram story something like something sad with the poster with Crosshair and Omega, and so I thought when I was watching, I was like, oh no, does he actually die? And I got so scared because you.
I'm sorry. That was
me.
not the intention. It was just I really liked the poster and I thought it was beautiful. It was like a happy I'm crying, not a sad.
Because that's why, because you put the picture, and then I saw, and then he was like getting drowned. I'm like, oh no, is he actually? Wait, was that what that was? Was that like some some hint toward the fact that he's gonna die? And I'm like, oh no, I'm not ready for this. That's not gonna work today. And then he was fine. I was like, okay, good, we're good.
Yeah,
that scared me a little bit. I was worried.
Apologies.
It's okay. So do you have anything else for the first episode? Episode 7, I guess.
I'm just really interested to know if this clone assassin is someone important or not.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, the other thing, which I don't think we talked about last week, I think this was a Twitter thing since then. Or maybe we did talk about, but she didn't get the thing from Ventress, the electro bullet, whatever, the crossbow. Yeah.
No.
She didn't get it from Ventress.
She got it from Echo.
Right. Which is weird.
He also said something interesting. He says, I have a lot of interesting contacts throughout the galaxy, when she asks, how did he get that? So I'm like, who's the contact that you got this from?
But like that felt like, to me, that felt more like, oh, well, I know some some guy who sells things, like some secondhand guy, right? Like that's what it felt like.
I am probably just reading into it too much, but like the delusional part of my brain is like, but what if? So
they've got to find a way to put Ventress in here, though. I don't understand how it's going to work now.
I wasn't anticipating her for the first 8 episodes anyways, because everyone who's done like an early screener of those episodes haven't mentioned anything, and I'm pretty sure like what I was that she wasn't going to appear in those first 8. So it hasn't surprised me that she hasn't shown up yet, but I don't know how she's going to show up.
So I think the difference is this. I didn't expect her to show up. I think the difference was I kind of expected her to, like, I expected there to be a way for her to show up, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the difference. Like it doesn't feel like it makes sense for her to show up.
I guess we'll just have to see.
I realized I got the episode numbers I put in the title wrong. It's okay.
Oops.
It's okay. It's all fixed now. I put 7 and 8, not 6 and 7, because I don't understand that. Yeah.
Because we're used to 16 instead of 15 episodes.
No, I don't know. I remember that. I know one episode was 7, and I just kind of thought it was 7 and 8. I don't know.
Yeah.
The problem is they give these weird 2-episode weeks, so my brain can't like, because like first week was 2 episodes. This week
3.
was 2 episodes. First week was 3 episodes. You're right, and then this week was
Yeah.
2 episodes, and it's very weird. Like if you're gonna give me one a week or give them all at once, don't do this weird thing, because then I have to look at the numbers. It's not good. But anyways, not the point. Yeah, so I don't know how they're gonna make Ventress appear in this. I'm a little bit worried because I don't want them to feel like they're shoving her, like kind of like, Book of Boba Fett style, like just throwing a character in just to get people to clap.
Mhm.
Because that's what they did with Cad Bane, obviously, at the end. They just kind
Yeah.
of put him in for the sake of it. And I just don't want Ventress to just be thrown in. Like, I want there to be a real reason for her to be there. And I honestly, like, I don't see how it makes sense for her to be in this show, and I want her to be in this show. So, yeah.
I
don't
think
know.
the meaning will become clearer because I think the creators have said that she's specifically really important to being part of Omega's story. So hopefully when we start learning more about specifically Omega and who she is, we might.
This show's made me real distracted, though, because even that Omega thing, like, we've gotten a lot less on Omega than I thought we would 7 episodes in.
Yeah.
Which is because, like, they the first 3 episodes, they set up so much stuff about Omega. We have not heard about Project Necromancer once. I don't think we've seen Hemlock in like 3 episodes.
I think
Like, actually, he hasn't done anything.
Yeah, he's shown up briefly in like episode 4 and 5, but we didn't see him in these 2. We haven't seen Emery in a while either, and I'm curious to know what she's up to because
We haven't seen Nala say, like, I'm a little bit worried because, like, it feels like, again, you're gonna get to a point where you're kind of rushing to get to the end, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh no, we got like 3 episodes to finish the story. Let's just kind of let's lazily kind of finish these stories that questions we kind of started. And I don't want them to do that because I like the show.
Yeah.
Now, before we go into episode 7, who was your MVP of episode 6?
I think the clone assassin.
Really? Why?
Because I think there's a lot of intrigue and mystery around them, regarding who they are as people, who they were before, and there seems to be some anonymity between the clone assassin and Crosshair, both of the clone assassins we meet, and it seems to run deeper than just, oh, you used to be one of us. It seems like they used to know Crosshair like personally, so I'm interested to know if like there's a connection there, if it's someone we know.
I'm gonna throw a random thing out here, okay? And you tell me what you think.
Mhm.
So the second clone, I think it was the second clone assassin, and this is in the episode 7, so we'll get back to the person I'm picking to be MVP. But in episode 7, there's one of the second clone assassin, the alive one, says something. I don't remember what he says, but he says something, and it just sounded like something Crosshair would say, to the point where I thought Crosshair was like under the helmet, like he was like, they're gonna do like, oh, he was pretending. I wonder if they tried to clone Crosshair.
I mean, maybe it's possible. I think it could also be Cody.
Oh, I like that. I kind of like my cloning Crosshair idea better, but yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, that's okay. Because just like they said he went AWOL, but we haven't seen anything of that. He's not with Rex. So I'm thinking, I don't know. I think that it could be Cody. I think that it could be Crosshair. People think it's Tech. It could be no one important. It could just be like a random clone assassin. But like, I don't know. And that's the fun of it, is like it could be no one. Like it could just be like that character in Ahsoka who everyone thought was somebody, and then they stabbed it and it was just like a bunch of green gas. Like,
or Snoke in the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
Although Snoke ended up being the Emperor Palpatine, I guess it doesn't count. But like initially, before the last one, who we thought Snoke was someone and Snoke was no one. But that's the point of Star Wars. We're gonna speculate like crazy about what
Yeah.
everyone's role is and how there's some bigger character who we didn't expect to see, right? So
Yeah.
maybe Ventress is is the assassin trooper.
Maybe.
Yeah, there you go. We connected Ventress back to this.
Yeah.
So my MVP is Batcha for one reason. She was the only one who saw the assassin.
Yeah.
She's the only one. She's the only one who she looks up. She's like, you know, concerned because she sees the guy who's not supposed to be there, and everyone just ignores her. And she just goes back to eating after. I'm like, you know what? The moment that I saw it, she noticed, I'm like, you know what? That you're the most valuable person here because you're the only one who noticed there's this strange dude walking around here who looks like he wants to kill someone.
Yeah. Yeah. Batcha's a good girl.
Yeah, except she doesn't go and try to attack the guy. She just kind of says, well, whatever. Which, you know, at least you notice, but like still.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, let's talk about episode 7, because there's a lot of stuff that happens in episode 7. Like we established before, Crosshair almost dies, potentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what were your big takeaways from episode 7?
I think, what were my big takeaways? I think it was just really stupid how Rex, how they brought Rex, or the clone assassin, to the base, because we lost so many clones. So many of them died. I found it really interesting to have that tension between Hauser and Crosshair. Because Crosshair's whole thing since season 1 has been about loyalty and what that means. And now he finally understands what loyalty is, and he tells that to Hauser, and how he realizes now that his loyalty was misplaced. And I think it was a really full circle moment, because like in the end of season 1, we had Crosshair saying to the Batch, you weren't loyal to me. And now he's like, well, the Empire wasn't either. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, my only takeaway, for being honest, like there's a lot of stuff that happens. The only takeaway that I care about here is Wolf. I don't know. Do you want to just talk like that was awesome. I loved every the tension in that moment when you see Wolf and Rex stand face to face. You see him take off his helmet, and then you see Rex basically try to talk to him. You know, you see Rex kind of say, "Look, this was my brother. Like I was, you know, we were like, you know." And then you know what happens with Wolf later on as well in Rebels, and I think it makes it even better. Like I think it makes that moment even better because you understand the relationship they have and how that kind of all spirals when they get to Rebels, right? Because of all the craziness that happens with Rebels.
Yeah, so I think that was interesting.
So I like the start of that friendship, which is going to be long lasting, which will lead them to be living on some weird robot thing together.
Yeah.
So you know, it is. I do like that because like you start because again, I feel like you can't really just have these characters out of nowhere just like suddenly become, you know, like Wolf can't just suddenly end up living with Rex on some planet somewhere on some like, you know, weird robot machine, right? Like you have to start developing these ideas that they might actually be on the same side, right?
Yeah. And Wolf has been the more hesitant one and the more what's the word? The more extreme one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's a beautiful way to show that transition from Clone Wars era Wolf to Rebels without totally wrapping it up and concluding it. Like when we finish the episode, we still don't totally know where he stands and how he gets from point A to B, but we see the beginnings of it, and I thought that was really beautifully done.
And now I do have to say, I don't know how he won't get killed for doing this and letting them go.
Yeah.
And the other thing, so I got to ask you this because I think you'll probably have a much more level-headed explanation for this than I will. So when they're in that confrontation with Wolf, right? And obviously the Wolf has orders to take Omega, whatever, right? If I were Rex, and Rex is a very smart, strategic person, you know, when it comes to battle. So are all of the Bad Batch, right? Hunter, you know, all of them. And he's there, and they're like, okay, we're gonna take you. Why at that moment doesn't he threaten to kill Omega if they try to capture them? He doesn't have to actually do it, but like if he because Omega can't die, so if he threatens to kill Omega, they're not going to be able to do anything because if they try to capture him or kill him, he's going to kill Omega.
Who, Rex?
Yeah,
I
or
think
anyone on that team, anyone on that side, really. Like, all you can do is you don't have to actually kill her, but just threaten to do it and see. Because if they were really worried about her dying, then that should be enough for them to be able to, like, that should be bargaining power basically in that kind of situation to be able to escape.
yeah, I think Rex at his core is an honest person.
But none of the clones who were there on Rex's side would have threatened to kill Omega. Like, you don't think that could have been a strategy they used?
It could have been, but I don't think it's one that the clones would have been encouraged to use during war. So why would they start now?
But why wouldn't they be encouraged to use? Like, again, I feel like you don't have to do it, but like the idea of like when at that moment, right, when you weren't sure what Wolf was going to do, because Wolf could have easily just said, no, we're not going to let you go. When the ship's doors open behind them, right, so at the very end, all they had to do was say, look, if you try to capture us and you don't let us walk on that ship, we're going to kill Omega. And then guess what? You're going to have to go back and say Omega's dead because of us. Do you want to do that or not? And they would have said no, and they could have gone on their ship and been happy, right? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't have to actually do it, obviously, but
I think that would have created a very tense relationship between him and the rest of the Bad Batch, if he had done that. Because although it is a good strategy, um, even if everyone is aware that it is fake, first of all, he doesn't have the time to communicate the plan to the rest of the team. He just has to do it on the fly, risking traumatizing Omega even more and the rest of the batch, but also risking like the rest of the batch thinking that he's serious. Um, and becoming very protective and very angry about their sister. Like even the idea of putting her in that kind of danger is a no-go for Hunter. Like he will not put her in that kind of risk even if it is fake. And so I think Rex probably recognizes that if I even suggest putting her into that situation, um, he's not going to like that, and it's going to cause friction between the team, and we've lost so many of our team members already that I need to keep what we remain to have together.
okay. So, my question: would that not, like, if Crosshair did that in that episode, would you be surprised at all?
Threaten to kill Omega?
Yeah, and then as like a way to escape.
I think I would be surprised because of how Omega is the only one in the batch who unquestionably is always trusting Crosshair, regardless of what he's done. She has always been on his side and with him, and I don't think he'd want to jeopardize right now the most stable relationship he has in the batch.
But see, I feel like this again, like, and I know I'm kind of harping on this, but like, I feel like watching these characters, right? It feels like something. Honestly, I like if they did that and they told me, Omega and Crosshair before they came to the batch, they made the decision, right, that they would threaten to kill Omega because they like assuming they or whatever, like that feels like something Omega would also be on board for. Like, you're telling me Omega's character would not be on board for threatening to having someone threaten to kill her, not obviously do it, but like threaten to do it so that they could escape.
I think Omega would be more on board with getting captured again, like willingly giving herself up and getting captured again so that they could find the location to Tantus.
But I'm saying, like, I feel like like, I would not be shocked if they like, I don't know. I just feel like they would be shocked if they like if Omega was like, yeah, you could threaten to kill me so you can escape, right? Like, you can use my life as like a way to bargain to basically get out of situations. Like, I don't think Omega would be against that at all. She's shown that she's willing to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I don't think
Unless
she
they promise they won't kill her.
I don't think that she'd be against it either, but I don't think they had the time to communicate that.
No, it's something they could think about maybe for the future. Maybe next time they get into a situation like this, now they know for sure that they want Omega alive.
Hmm.
It's
And I think I
they
think that's possible.
I think it's a good tactic, and I feel like they must like, you can't tell me these people are this strategic and this smart, and they're like, they were generals in a military, and they can't can't come up with like this on their own. Like it feels like a no-brainer decision if you need someone alive to threaten to kill them.
Yeah. But Rex at that point is also being ruled by the shock and his emotions of seeing Wolf, who is one of his close brothers. And, you know, that's hard to think strategically when Rex has such a big heart at the same time. And in the war, it would have been no problem for him to shut that side of himself off. But now that the war is over, um, he has a lot more compassion for all the clones that are left because there aren't as many anymore. And they all, in his mind, have to stay together and as one.
That's fair. I mean,
So if he can solve something out by talking rather than like threats, then I think he would rather try that first.
I just feel because like you saw Hemlock like initially when they're making their escape, like Hemlock called off his troops so that they could escape because they didn't want to put Omega. They need Omega alive. Like they really need Omega alive. They they got mad when the clone place was like blew up because they were like, oh no, what if Omega died? We're all going to get in trouble. Like the fear of Omega dying seems to be top on their minds.
Mm-hmm.
It's because of like how. And also, I think the way the show's written and the way they kind of like emphasize this Omega needs to be alive thing, right? Like, again, you see at the beginning of episode 7, that conversation, right? Of like, oh my God, why did you blow this thing up? Omega could be dead, right?
Yeah.
And like the way they emphasize, like, you assume the show writers at some point would have said, hey, it's like something, because like they're emphasizing so much. At some point, you're like, you must see this, right? Like, you can't not understand this could happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, that bugged me, and I wanted to know what your thoughts on that were because I was just thinking that while I was watching this all happen, I'm like, man, that would be such a good idea. It's so convenient. So, thank you for hearing out that tangent.
No problem.
So, what else? Is there anything else with this episode that you want to talk about?
I was just really excited to see Wolf again.
Yeah,
because he's my favorite, and I think there's potential to come back to him during the season, and maybe I'm just being again delusional. But
no, I think he'll come back.
When he was talking to the clone assassin, he really had a stick up his ass when it came to him, and he was like, "This isn't over." And why would he say that if he's not coming back? Like, I don't know if maybe he's gonna hunt down the clone assassin. I don't know, but the clone assassin is in rough shape. So if Wolf wants to kind of hunt him down, and episode I think 9 is called Identity Crisis, which makes me think that the clone assassin might have that. And maybe Wolf will come back. I don't know. But like it seems like his story isn't finished.
Yeah, I don't. I think he's gonna be back. I agree with you on that. I don't think you make a reveal like that and him not come back.
Yeah.
I think that the other thing and the thing in this episode which made me think the clone assassin was more important than we thought. They literally have, they literally do. They intentionally show us the clone assassin not being dead, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you show that, and not just like subtle, like they fully showed the clone assassin climbing out of the water, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you do that, you're clearly setting up the fact that they're important, because if they weren't important, you wouldn't take the time. Like if you take the time in a 25-minute show to show someone coming out, it takes a few seconds of that show to show someone getting, like, being alive. That means it's important they're alive.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I don't know who the clone assassin is, but whoever it is, they're clearly important for them to spend time looking at the fact that they're alive. So,
Yeah.
Who is the MVP of this episode for you, do you think?
It was Wolf.
Yeah, I agree.
He's awesome. That's my only reasoning. I don't feel like I have to give a deeper one. It's just because he's awesome.
Yeah, I agree with you. I wish the clone assassin did more in this episode, so I could, because I really wanted to give the clone assassin the MVP of one of the episodes, but I don't think the clone assassin did enough of this episode to warrant it, especially because we didn't get any actual answers for anything, and then the clone assassin just lost.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't. But yeah. So what do you think is going to happen next episode? Where do you think they go from here?
I think this might be the episode with the bounty hunters with Fennec Shand coming back.
Really?
Possibly to help get information on Omega in exchange for something else that the batch has to do for her.
Maybe Ventress.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. but I just have a feeling that Fennec Shand is going to be back next week. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before,
No,
but
we've
that's
both been wrong before. It's okay. It's
yeah.
like, oh, good. We're just
We've
gonna.
both been wrong many times, so that won't stop happening. But maybe next week is my week.
So my hunch, because I'm just going on, the only thing I know is the title of the episode is Bad Territory, right? My hunch is they're going to end up going to a planet where there's a war going on, not a war between the Empire, but like a civil war going on, and they're going to get stuck in the middle of that. That's what I think is going to happen. I don't know where the planet is. I don't know what anything. I think when you say something like bad territory, my mind goes to like they're gonna fall into the middle of a conflict. They're gonna have to help solve it, right? And they're gonna have to try, like, maybe they'll find someone important, maybe something like that will happen. But I think when you say bad territory, that means you end up going somewhere you don't want to go. And my mind is it's in the middle of a conflict they don't want to be a part of.
Yeah, and
So
maybe it's even like, remember how in episode 2, Hunter and Wrecker were working with the Durand family and they had sold out a Pike to get information on Omega. Maybe they're going to get caught up in between the conflict between the Pikes and the Durands.
Ooh, ending up in Pike territory. That's bad
Yeah.
territory to end up in. I'm telling you, you don't want that actually would work. I like that. I'm gonna go with that. Pike. They're gonna end up in the Pike. They're gonna go back to the Pikes to some extent, or they're gonna go back to some crime family thing. Maybe the Hutts. Maybe the Hutts
Yeah.
good here.
Because if you they're like, the Batch has done something that is going to piss off the Pikes by selling one of their members to the Durand family. Like,
right.
They're gonna have heat on them, and maybe the Pikes are gonna come after them. I don't know.
And Fennec might be on Tatooine right now.
Yeah.
I don't know where she'd actually be, but she could be on Tatooine.
She could be.
And the Hutts are on Tatooine right now.
Yeah.
Well, Jabba's on Tatooine. I don't know. Maybe they're going to Tatooine. Because, God knows they need more sand planets in Star Wars. We need them to keep visiting sand planets, right? Because we don't get tired of those at all.
It's just purely to torture Anakin Skywalker and his memory.
Oh, yeah. Which is a good enough reason, I guess.
Yeah.
But with that being said, thank you so much for coming on. I know it's a little bit of a later start than normal, but thank you for kind of,
No problem.
It's been a crazy day. Actually, so you'll like this. So you know who I actually did an interview with today?
Who?
The person who played Morgan Elsbeth in Ahsoka.
Oh, that's so cool.
The interview comes out Friday, so
was it in person or was it
No, it was online.
She's coming to Toronto.
For Comic-Con.
Comic-Con. Yeah.
She was supposed to come in on Friday to do the interview, but then her schedule got messed up, so we did it online today. It'll be out on Friday. But yeah, she's coming to Toronto, so it was good to talk to her. She loves Star Wars. She's watched Star Wars since she was a kid, so it was fun. We got to talk a little bit about Star Wars. I asked her if her character's coming back. I can't say anything else. Wait till Friday.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you all for watching, and thank you again for coming on, and I'll see everyone next week. We're going to have some more great Bad Batch to talk about.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bad territory. Bye.